up, Taiwan? I'm Jeremy Olivier with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Pope Francis has died aged 88. He led the Catholic Church with a mission to modernize, putting love, compassion, and inclusion at the heart of his message, no matter a person's race, sexuality, or status. Bryn Thomas reflects on his legacy.
Pope Francis, the 266th leader of a Roman Catholic Church, has died in the Vatican City on Easter Monday, hours after being seen publicly for the last time during Easter. In Asia and around the world, an outpouring of grief marks a papacy committed to interfaith dialogue, social justice, and world peace.
Il cielo ci benedirà se in terra e sul mare sapremo perderci cura dei più deboli. Se sapremo superare la paralisi della paura e il disinteresse che condanna a morte con guanti di velluto.
Born Jorge Mario Bergoglio, December 17, 1936, in Argentina, to Italian immigrant parents, Pope Francis studied chemistry before joining the Jesuits in 1958, aged 21. He was ordained in 1969 and became the Cardinal of Buenos Aires in 2001 under Pope John Paul II. In 2013, Francis made history as the first non-European pope in 1,200 years, stepping in after Pope Benedict resigned. He inherited a church in crisis, reeling from a financial scandal, ongoing criticism over child sexual abuse by priests, and declining influence in the West. In the face of these challenges, Francis took a different approach, one of openness and inclusion.
Le persone di tendenze omosessuali sono figli di Dio. Dio li vuole bene. Dio li accompagna.
His first steps taken as Pope, in his modest black papal shoes, put the Church on a different path, towards reform over tradition and modesty over ostentation.
Quando vedo un prete o una suora con la macchina ultimo modello, ma non si può.
During his 12-year papacy, Pope Francis championed migrant rights, environmental protection, peace in Ukraine and the Middle East, and global reconciliation. In doing so, he reshaped the world's largest Christian church and its 150 million members in Asia.
Que el uso de la energía atómica con fines de guerra es hoy más que nunca un crimen, no solo contra el hombre y su dignidad, sino contra toda posibilidad de futuro en nuestra casa común.
Francis pushed for peace on the Korean Peninsula. He called for dignity and reconciliation in Myanmar while stopping short of directly addressing the Rohingya crisis. In the Philippines, he supported marginalized communities and urged for peace among different religious groups. Francis's approach to Taiwan and China was delicate. His papacy continued the Vatican's official ties with Taiwan. The Holy See remains Taiwan's only official ally in Europe, but his papacy also sought engagement with China, approving a deal with Beijing on appointing bishops in 2018, despite China doing so without church approval.
Ai cattolici cinesi gli chiedo di essere buoni cristiani e buoni cittadini.
With Pope Francis's death, cardinals will soon gather at the Vatican to choose his successor. But the Church's future remains unclear. He leaves behind a more humanist institution, but one still facing significant challenges. As the world and the Holy See face an increasingly uncertain future, Francis's call for peace, compassion, and reconciliation may prove more important than ever. Ethan Pan and Bryn Thomas for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te has asked the country's embassy at the Vatican to send a message of condolence to the Holy See. The Foreign Ministry also says special envoys will be sent to attend Pope Francis's funeral. More senior government officials from the Philippines will be allowed to visit Taiwan, according to a new memo from Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. An earlier policy banned all officials from Philippines from traveling to Taiwan. That ban is now limited to the President, Vice President, Foreign Minister, and Defense Minister. The memo also paves a way for official delegations from Taiwan to visit the Philippines. The memo does not mention any change to Manila's One China policy. Prosecutors are stepping into the hottest political battle of the year, a mass recall campaign that could shake up the whole legislature. They say several recall petitions included forged signatures. With the investigations in full swing and partisan mistrust growing, both sides are digging in deeper. John Van Trieste reports.
A political storm is sweeping the country, centered on petition counting booths like this one. The ruling and opposition blocs are targeting each other's lawmakers with mass recall campaigns. But prosecutors say a campaign to recall 2 ruling Democratic Progressive Party lawmakers for the city of Kaohsiung used forged signatures to boost its petition numbers. This man, campaign leader Xu Shangxian, is in detention over the alleged forgeries. And one of the lawmakers his campaign targeted says there are likely more people responsible for the fake signatures behind the scenes.
今天双霸节的负责人已经承认是他亲手抄的名单，负责提供名册的人在哪里？背后的主谋应该要尽快的出面说明，并且承担责任。
But Xu Shangxian's father says the forgery accusations were groundless to begin with.
怎么会有抄名册的事情？没有，可能有些写的潦草，可能有些笔误，或是有些不清楚地方，我们志工经过查证之后，来重新誊稿，誊稿之后，我们也电话请当事人回来补签个名。
The case in Kaohsiung is just one of several recall petitions being investigated for allegedly fake signatures. As prosecutors continue their probes, the coming days look to be even stormier in the political arena as both blocs prepare for battle. The opposition Kuomintang's chair, Eric Zhu, has vowed unity with its smaller opposition partner, the Taiwan People's Party, with a 2-party summit scheduled for Tuesday.
不要想在这个过程当中制造蓝白对立，更不要想在这个过程当中分裂在野党、分裂国民党。我们一定会团结一致。
And it also plans a Taipei rally of its own on Saturday, following a rival rally backed by the DPP over this past weekend. The DPP is condemning the plans, but not stepping back.
如果不是要进行福国利民的政策讨论，只是奠基于祸国殃民的政治操作，彼此来进行权力的交换，来获得打击执政党、打击自己的国家，那这场高峰会议存在的意义实在毫不正向，也毫不正当。
With no signs of de-escalation, a full-on battle of the parties looks more and more likely. An unprecedented showdown that could take down many political careers and upend the legislature. John Su and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Lawmakers in Taiwan are strengthening ties with Ukraine, welcoming new members of a parliamentary friendship association between the two countries, both of which face pressure from powerful neighbors. Tiffany Wong has more.
The legislature is inaugurating new members of Taiwan's Parliamentary Friendship Association with Ukraine. That's a group of lawmakers from both sides coming together through shared values of human rights, freedom, and democracy. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022, Taiwan has been a staunch supporter of Ukraine, pointing to parallels between the two nations' tense relations with larger neighbors.
Taiwan and Ukraine may be geographically distant, but we are united by common purpose and shared vulnerability. We both stand on the front line of authoritarian regimes' pressures. That is why this parliamentary friendship group is not symbolic, it is strategic. It is a declaration that democracy do not stand alone. We are stronger together and we must act together. Slava Ukraine.
Several advocates from Ukraine who helped coordinate the charter are also here in Taipei. They say more exchanges between Taiwan and Ukraine will make both countries more resilient.
I think that right now the fact that we are here, Ukraine is still fighting on the front line. Taiwan is constantly working on increasing its security infrastructure and on establishing more and more connections with Ukraine. This is proof that we are strong and we will be even stronger in the future to defeat all threats.
The new members of the friendship group are lawmakers representing Taiwan's legislature elected last year. Now these legislators are aiming to pick up that work, bridging ties between Taiwan and Ukraine on political, economic, and ideological fronts to fight for and maintain peace in their countries. Ryan Wu and Tiffany Wong in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
U.S. President Donald Trump says there could be a ceasefire deal between Ukraine and Russia within a week. But on the ground, both sides are accusing each other of breaking an Easter truce. Rosie Greninger reports.
Ukrainians gather for Easter celebrations across the war-torn country. After Russian President Vladimir Putin declared a ceasefire on the holy day. But with continued fighting reported on multiple fronts, many in Ukraine, from the church to the front line, were skeptical that Russia would stick to its word.
The shelling has continued. We can see it on the news, for example, in Kherson. Also, assaults and shelling continued on the front line. There's no indication of a ceasefire. And I think that was expected because we know who we've been dealing with for the past 3 years. Look, I think there will be no ceasefire because Russia never keeps its word. You simply can't believe them. There will be no ceasefire.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says the Russian army violated the ceasefire almost 3,000 times. While Russia's defense ministry says Ukraine broke the truce 1,000 times, leaving many Russians, who are also celebrating Easter, questioning whether Ukraine is serious about the ceasefire.
To be honest, I don't have hopes on the Ukrainian side. They've deceived us so many times. I do not trust them.
I watched Zelensky's reactions very closely. There was nothing about the ceasefire. There were just some vague statements, nothing giving any confidence that we won't be shelled.
Ukrainian officials say their military actions were purely defensive, responding to ongoing Russian aggression. After the temporary ceasefire lapsed, Zelensky proposed a 30-day halt to drone and missile strikes on civilian infrastructure, with the possibility to extend. The Kremlin says there's been no order to extend the ceasefire. But US President Donald Trump, who has been making efforts to broker an agreement between the two sides, wrote on social media that a deal could be made this week. His optimism echoed by the United States Special Envoy to Russia and Ukraine, who said Trump's team would return to London this week for ceasefire talks.
We talk about going forward with a potential ceasefire in the near term, and that's the reason we're returning to London this week to actually lock that down. And I think there's tremendous opportunities.
Opportunities Kellogg says that don't include Ukrainian membership to the NATO military alliance. With the 30-hour Easter truce now expired, fighting has well and truly resumed between Kyiv and Moscow. But as the US boasts confidence that a deal can be made soon, Zelensky is urging his people not to give up hope that peace can be achieved. Dolphine Chen and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
The U.S. and the Philippines have begun their annual joint military drills amid tensions with China. More than 14,000 Filipino and U.S. soldiers are taking part in this year's Balikatan exercises held around the Philippines. The drills come amid increasing confrontations between Beijing and Manila in the South China Sea over their overlapping territorial claims. Other countries, including Australia and Japan, will also take part in the exercises. They include air and missile defense drills and maritime strikes and will run until May 9th. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more of our stories. Finally, we leave you with images from an Afro-Brazilian carnival celebrating cultural kinship in Nigeria. I'm Jeremy Olivier. Take care and see you next time.
I'm Tiffany Wong in Kuala Lumpur, and you're watching TaiwanPlus.